Hey everyone, this is Liz Faircloth. So excited to be with all of you. I host a special Bigger Pockets live session once a month. It is called Bigger Pockets InvestHer. So once a month, I bring on one or two amazing women in real estate investing, and we talk about all sorts of things. My husband Matt is here the other Mondays of the month, but I'm here typically the third Monday of the month, and it's kind of the women's time, so to speak. And I bring on some amazing women to talk about women just rocking it in real estate investing. So if you are joining us, just again, welcome. Excited to be here. My name is Liz Faircloth, and I just excited to be with everyone. I'm going to introduce Kim in a moment, but I just want to encourage those watching to give me some hearts, some likes, do some sharing, because really that helps get this out in terms of people enjoying it, people liking it for the engagement on Facebook. So I would encourage you to do that. If you're also on, hi Alex. If you're also on, I'd love to hear what you want to get out of today. Today's going to be all about, self-managing, tenant relations, landlording. So if there's something in particular you want to get out of today, we'll make sure we steer those questions and make sure we get those needs met for you, because this is really for you. We don't have an agenda. We just want to give you some great content so it makes you a better real estate investor. So if there's anything the folks listening want to shout out or put in the comment section, anything you want to get out of today, I'm all ears. We just want to make this as helpful as possible. So without further ado, hi Marianne from Columbus, Ohio. Thanks for joining us. But without further ado, I want to introduce our guest. And again, my name's Liz, and I didn't even really tell you where I'm from, but the reason why we're doing this Bigger Pockets live with InvestHers is myself and my partner Andressa run a community called the Real Estate InvestHer. So we kind of came together and partnered up doing this live so we can serve all the women, amazing Bigger Pocket community. So without further ado, I have an amazing woman to share with all of you, and we're going to really get into some neat discussions around landlording. And so Kim Avant-Babb, she is from New Jersey, where I was born and raised, and she redevelops residential properties. What's so fascinating about Kim is that she has a 0 eviction rate for 30 years being a landlord, which is absolutely amazing. I've been a landlord probably for about 15 years, and that's hard, right? I don't know if anyone, hello from Pittsburgh. Hi, Michael. I don't know if anyone could agree with me, but having a 0 eviction kind of batting average is pretty amazing. So she's obviously, she redevelops properties. Mostly she does a lot of work in Philadelphia. So that's where a lot of her properties are and where she's redeveloped properties. She also, because she's had so much success about how to deal with tenants, how to really serve them over a 30-year time frame, she's recently put together some amazing property management documents. It's a bundle, and it's called Landlord Docs 30. So she's the one we want to talk to about how to really manage tenants, how to really work with them, how to really serve them. And there's a lot of things we're going to get into. So without further ado, Kim, welcome to Bigger Pockets Live for this week.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Liz. I'm so excited and honored to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so glad to have you. You know, we've interviewed you once on our podcast. We got to get you back on our podcast. Kim is an active member of our InvestHer community, and I've really been enjoying your videos. You've been talking a lot about tips on how to deal with tenants, and it's a big process, right? So, and if you're just joining us, please share this video. That really helps get the word out about what Bigger Pockets is doing to serve the investing community and what we're doing, collaborating together. And the other request I had was if there's any questions you have at this point, but more importantly, anything you want to get out of our time together. We're going to be talking about tenant appreciation, how to manage tenants. If you want to be a landlord and if you want to get into this business of investing and you're growing your portfolio, you're going to have to deal with tenants on some level, right? Whether you're directly managing or you're managing the property manager, it actually doesn't matter. Tenants are huge. They're our customer, right? Ultimately our customers. So if there's anything you want to get out of, we just want to be of most help and most service. So, but we have some great questions because we're prepared, just like most women are, right, Kim?
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your background before we jump into the questions. I gave a few things, but please share with the audience for the Bigger Pockets community a little bit about you and just how you've come to be in this investing business.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I am a multitasker, serial entrepreneur. I have a 9 to 5 for another 2 months. I'm blessed to be retiring and working
Ooh,
for a real estate company full time.
congratulations.
Yes, it's a milestone. So I've been a senior in a senior level position in corporate America and for the state. Uh, Interestingly enough, in the real estate track for the last 23 years. So I'm a chief strategy officer
Hmm.
during the day, co-founder and real estate developer for Bad Properties. I'm in business with my husband and partner. So pray for me, but I know how you feel, Liz. You know, the clock of business never stops. And I'm also
Constant. It's constant, right?
constant, yes. Pillow talk, really. And I'm also a fashion designer, so I have multiple hats.
So cool.
I just like a lot of different things. And I guess about 35 years ago, my husband and I just stumbled into real estate. I like to give honor and credence to my mother-in-law, the late Estella Babb, who was still buying real estate at 70 years old.
Good for her.
She's the one that enticed us to buy real estate. And
Mm,
what she found, and we're from Philadelphia, and what she found is as she was seasoning, her peers were dying off. And she would
mm,
actually buy their homes if their families were having difficulty keeping them up, even if they didn't have interest in
mm,
maintaining them. And she would buy them. And she would say to my husband and I that you all need to, and not only us, but her other children, you need to buy real estate. You need to buy real estate. We were a young couple just getting started with kids. We didn't have a lot of money. She was a saver. As a factory worker in Philadelphia, she just had a propensity to save.
mm.
She came across 2 properties one time and she called us. She said, I'm going to buy one. You guys need to buy the other. Mom, we don't have the money. She said, listen to my husband. I have $14,000 saved for you as your inheritance.
Mm.
I'll make you a deal. I'll give it to you now with the understanding that when I die, you won't get anything. So she helped us buy our first real estate investment
Great.
property. And that's how we got into real estate. Our space is single family properties. Our model is we basically acquire, gut rehab, and hold. We've never flipped anything. And so moving forward, we do want to scale up into multifamily. We do want to do a flip. We do want to do new construction. Our portfolio, for those of you who are not familiar with Philadelphia, is the Graduate Hospital area and Point Breeze, which are the closest neighborhoods to Center City.
Yeah.
And over the last 3 decades, they have transformed immensely.
Yeah.
So we have a mean, lean, very lucrative portfolio of single family properties.
Yeah.
Why is that? We brought in the right location, we brought at the right time, and we brought for the right price. And to give you an example, that gift that keeps giving, the first property that my mother-in-law helped us purchase, we purchased for $14,000. We did a full gut rehab for about $40,000, and we put it on the market last year, even though we had to pull it off. But it listed for $360,000.
Wow.
So
and,
when
that was and that was 30 years ago?
We purchased it for $14,000 in 1994.
Oh, okay. That wasn't okay. Wow.
And we did
That's
a BRRRR, but we knew what a BRRRR was, right? Pulled some money out and was still able to list it for $360,000. So when we talk about generational wealth, real estate is
awesome.
a phenomenal vehicle to do that.
I love it. So you get into, and I think, so it's interesting. I think about my journey too, as starting out, and landlording doesn't come with like a manual, right? It's not like a course you take. I mean, we did take courses through the RIA groups and we got our books and we read as much as we could. But you kind of stumble upon it. A lot of people when they're self-managing. Yeah. So how did you set yourself up for success, right? Did you start with one property so you had one tenant, so to speak? And then how did you, start building things to even be able to share with other people, right? All these different strategies. So you had 0 evictions in 30 years. That's so amazing and phenomenal. So let's start with your first property. How did that work? What happened? What did you learn? And how did you then propel you into the next one?
So actually, our landlording journey started before our first investment property because we would manage my mother-in-law's properties.
Oh, okay.
Right? She was acquiring properties. She was a senior. She had triplexes, single family. So that's how we got into landlording and got our feet wet. And then when we purchased that first property, we inherited a tenant. And we just let them stay there. I think we was paying like $200 a month. We didn't know. We just knew we had an investment property. And then the light bulb went off that, hey, this is a thing, and we started educating ourselves, talk about the benefit of joining local real estate groups. We've been a member of HAPCO, which is the
Philadelphia. In Philadelphia. Yep.
For 30 years. When we first started out, we joined HAPCO and we started going to workshops with DIG and PROA and realized that we have to start educating ourselves on this process. And that's what started us on the road of building systems. And because I've always worked in corporate and on the administrative side, I just had the knack of creating documents. Right? Creating leases and documents and questionnaires and surveys. And it really complemented the 2-lane highway that our business operates under. My husband is all on the construction side, the maintenance side. I handle all the marketing, tenant orientation, onboarding, and administrative stuff. So we just started like piling and growing our system, our infrastructure of property management. And we follow it like taking medicine every day. Every time we list a property, we follow that same checklist of property management, vetting, screening tenants. And it wasn't honestly until about 6 years ago that we realized, we've never had an eviction. It was really like a profound moment because we were just busy doing the business and being diligent in our practices, in our commitment, and our discipline.
So let's talk about screening tenants, because, obviously, to have a 0% eviction rate, right, is obviously you're upfront doing the work, right? Yes. It's obviously a managing part, right? Taking care of the tenants you have, but, it's on that front end is a big piece of the puzzle. So let's talk about that a little bit. Like what have you evolved over the years? What are your kind of standards? Do you like, just share with us a little bit about your process?
Sure. And what I call the secret sauce of rentals and landlording is the screening. I believe you have to spend the time, focus, and commitment in screening an applicant. That's what we're going to classify them as. They are an applicant. You list that property, you have interested parties, they are applicant. They fill out that application. And to be honest with you, I know I look the way that I look, but I turn into a private investigator. Really, when they give that application and their money, I turn into a private investigator. I go on social media. I go on all of the search engines. Chris Rock, he makes a statement that when you're dating someone, you're really dating an imposter. Because they're putting their best foot forward. Well, an applicant, they're putting their best foot forward too. But my job is to pull that mask off and figure out who exactly they are, right? We use an online screening system where they're checking their criminal background, evictions, liens, judgments, past addresses. We spend a lot of time calling previous landlords. And I said that in a plural fashion, not just the current one. If they have previous ones, we want to talk to them. We are calling their employers. We are, and it's interesting because of COVID-19, we've actually brought on 2 new tenants on 2 separate properties. So, the wheels are still turning, right?
Sure.
And we have a showing agent, so we no longer show our properties. However, I typically during this process get to interact with that applicant. And that's been taken away. But what did we do? We incorporated technology. I did Zoom meetings with those applicants because I want to look you in your eye, right? I want to check your character. And that's another thing. In the screening process, you are really standing in judgment of that applicant. After you've done all your vetting, I want to talk to them. I want to check their integrity. I want to check their honesty. And we want to check all those boxes. We spread everything out on the table and we make a decision on a tenant based on data, not on emotion. Well, he seemed nice. Well, I know she's a nurse. I'm a nurse. No. Yeah. We are cherry picking. We are checking bank statements, pay stubs. And I said that on Facebook or Instagram one time because I just did a video tip on screening tenants.
Sure.
And someone commented, I don't know if I would want a landlord that's asking for my bank statements. I think that's overreaching. And I said with a real solid period at the end of the sentence, okay, then you're not a potential tenant of mine. Why? Just like in underwriting to buy a property, that underwriter, that lender, they're gathering all that data so that they can be comfortable with you as a potential borrower, right? That's the position that we take as landlords. You need to make me feel comfortable.
Yeah.
I don't care how many times you go to Starbucks, and I want to see the cash flowing in your account. I want to cross-reference that to your pay stubs. I want to cross-reference that to speaking with your employer. So we've got a checklist, and if all the boxes are checked, then you're strongly considered.
Yeah, I love that. I can remember when we first started, when we were first landlords, and we would meet people, and not only I think we're young and green, but you're talking to people and you're hearing their sob story, or you're hearing their story, right? And if you're an empathetic person, and you're a people person initially, and you don't have maybe some of that systems and data orientation, you can get pulled in very quickly. And it's really hard sometimes for certain people. So I know for myself and my husband, and it was, we got the runaround. People just sort of took advantage initially until you start to smarten up and go, okay, this is crazy. We need it, and it was just consistency and standards. And actually it's really helpful for the people pleasers on the live, and for the people who have like that empathy, it's okay. But if you have if you have the checklist and you have the standards, it almost makes you feel better, because you're like, it's not emotion. I got to just go by the checklist. I got to follow it's what the paper says. It's what our rules say versus my opinion. It actually helps the people who are super empathetic and want to just help everybody. My background was social work, right? That was my background, right? So, it makes it easier. So for the folks listening who might have a hard time with that, make sure you get it on paper, because it's not you, it's what your rules say, and it's what your process says versus you, so.
And let me just add to that, Liz, 3 things. Number 1, landlording is a business. This is a business, number 1. And number 2, we are very philanthropic. We donate and we help the organizations that we want to, right? Mm-hmm. Our rentals are not for charity.
Yeah.
So I understand your condition, your situation, but this is my business, right? And then as well, if you have documentation, if you have a system, then to your point, you can deny, and you can make a decision based on your business policies.
That's right.
And not emotion.
Love it. And that goes so true for every area of this business, right? It's evaluating deals, working with, it's just, it should be black and white. You should be taking that emotion out, and that's so much easier for certain people, which is awesome. And then you have to work on it if that's not your natural tendency, you kind of learn in the business. That's great. So let's go back to that, your first property, and you're instituting these systems, as a female landlord, right? Because you said your husband, you have similar to my husband and I, we had different roles. It sounds like you're very diligent on saying, okay, this is my role, this is your role, which was amazing. And at first, sometimes we were kind of like doing the same thing. That never works. So it's great when you are working with your spouse, just to have those lanes, as they say, stay in your lane. Not everyone always does that. But you're dealing with the tenants, you're onboarding them. So how have you been able to, I know one of the questions you and I are bouncing back and forth, people respecting you as a female landlord. Have they respected you more? Have they respected you? I'm curious, what has been your kind of experience with that? And how have you handled that? How have you worked through that?
So I am 5 feet. I've been 5 feet for a long time, right? And I believe what's important in responding to that is managing expectations and setting a tone. Yeah. When I meet an applicant, not only am I checking those boxes, but I'm also engaging with them to check their character, their personality. Or do we have chemistry in reference to communication? You understand me, I understand you. And I also think that, I'm able to be successful because I set a tone of business. Okay, I might be a female, you might be a female, or you might be a male, but this is
Trevor.
my business,
Mm-hmm.
and you are, interested in staying in our home, and
Right.
that's the other framework that I established. Like, this is our home.
Yeah.
Okay, you can stay here as long as you want, as long as you meet these criteria. So I think it's a combination of setting a tone and being very clear and communicating with our tenants.
Yeah.
And I've been successful. I haven't had to bring in like the big dog to be like, why are you messing with my woman? Because
You handled it.
I've handled it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right, though. And I think there's so much about managing expectations ahead of time. I know what I think a great point we'll get into is self-managing versus hiring out a third-party manager. And we've worn both of those hats over the years. But when we were directly managing, I can remember sitting with folks and we always had a lease meeting, a review of the lease meeting. And we really, did I read it to them? No, I didn't read the lease to them, but we went over it. We talked about expectations. We talked about, quite honestly, over the years, the 5 things that are going to come up for most people. So that's the things you talk about. For us, we knew those things. So we would go through each page and go, oh, okay, let's talk about this one. And we would talk about it and make sure we're on the same page. That was part of us managing expectations. But to your point, Kim, if you don't do that at that point with that tenant, it's like a customer, they're going to just, I don't know, people still send leases and never review them with the tenant. I think that's poor business and not a good idea. Because you're setting it up to just like have some, now they can read, but are they going to really read it? I mean, do you read everything that you get? People don't read loan documents, let alone lease agreement, right? So expect them not to read it, that you will need to review it. So that's always a tip I've always suggested to folks self-managing.
And I guess my body language is responding to you in that we are in the minority. And I say we as a company, as a couple, we read everything. Yeah. We have walked away from financing deals because of what's in the fine print. That's right. So we're going to sit that over there. But in reference to our tenants, it's my job to make sure that they understand all the clauses and the conditions of that lease. I used to go over it with them. My orientations or onboarding with a new tenant at the property used to take about 45 minutes. Yeah. Because I would go over each clause, right? Yep. I pulled back from that. There's an expectation that you're going to be accountable and that you're going to read it. Okay. And an example is we have a plumbing addendum to our lease. Okay. And it's also mentioned in our lease, but I've enhanced it by having a separate addendum. And it was created because of what we experienced as we went down that landlording journey. Okay. As it relates to plumbing. And this is the story we had.
This is going to be a good one.
Yeah. We had 4 roommates in a property. Okay. I call, there's water in the basement. Okay. My partner goes there because he's the first line of, assessment, and there's water in the basement. What's sewage in the basement? Long story short, they were using paper towels. Oh, jeez. Instead of toilet paper. Oh, geez. And it clogged up everything, right? So fine, we addressed that thousands of dollars later. We had to dig up the whole main. Yeah. Fast forward, I inserted it into our lease, the plumbing policy, in an addendum. Another tenant got a call, water in the basement, and we know what clogs up plumbing. Yeah. And I wrote it specifically in the addendum. Don't use this, that, floss, Q-tips, etc. Well, when at the end of the day, stuff was pulled out, it was this, that, and Q-tip, and they had to pay. Yeah. They had to pay the fee because I stipulated it in the lease document, supported it with an addendum. You understand it. I'm holding you responsible for it. That's the communication that has to happen. And
because the first time it's like a child, right? The first time you don't hold them accountable to that, what are they going to do? They're going to take advantage again. So I think that's a great suggestion. And please keep questions coming. I think Alex Sparks has a question here. We'll just jump in with some questions here from the folks watching. How much should you increase on rents, especially when the taxes go up? My tenants are great and always pay on time, but I do need to up the rent eventually. So it's a great question, Alex. But I'll let you take a stab at that, Kim, because I'm sure you've seen that over the years, especially when you have great tenants. You don't want to lose them by making it as though you're trying to have them exit, but you need to take care of it financially too.
And that's a great question, and is unique that I'm going to answer that question having a portfolio in Philadelphia. So a standard 3% increase is in our lease language. So that's understood. Annually, it goes up 3%. However, because in the city of Philadelphia, they did a reval of the real estate about, I don't know, 8 years ago. And it was all in the media because of the gentrification. So, you know, they want to increase the taxes. And I stayed in contact with my tenants because our properties are in, you know, quickly quickly growing gentrified neighborhoods. Yes. So we knew the real estate tax was going to go up. Long story short, one particular property, we had to increase the rent by $300 to make the numbers work for us because of the increase in the real estate taxes based on the reval, right? And at the end of the day, you should be in business to make a profit. With the increase in the real estate taxes, we were going to lose money, and we felt bad. But we had prepped our tenants with communications and letters to say, listen, you know what's happening in the city, you know what neighborhood you live in, the taxes are going to go up, so we're going to have to make some adjustments. I felt bad going to that tenant to say your rent is going up $300. Do you know they said not a problem? Really? Because they wanted to live there. They understood the value of that neighborhood. And so as a result of that, there is language in our leases that there is an annual 3% increase. However, if there is any abnormal major increases due to the municipal tax code changes, we will give you 30 to 45 days or 60 days notice if there's going to be an abnormal beyond 3% increase.
Okay. Yeah, that's an excellent point, because, you know, you have a lot of different things you're trying to consider, but at the same time, right, you have to run your numbers, and you're getting an increase. You know, you can't be going into the red. That doesn't make sense either. And I love that they stayed anyway because of how they were being treated, and it was the right house for them, and they're probably getting their maintenance requests taken care of, all those sort of things. So for the folks on, you know, just midpoint here, welcome. We're talking about tenants. We're talking about how Kim and her husband have been successfully able to have zero evictions in 30 years. So we got someone who's an amazing resource here on with us around how to do that. So let's talk about the managing part. You know, obviously the screening part, getting the right person in the door is critical. But then you have this, you know, managing tenants, right? People always think it's so fascinating because I feel like so many people get so focused on finding the deal, finding the opportunity, but really you're going to make or lose your money in the managing of anything, managing flip, managing the rental, managing the tenant. It's the managing is the hard part, my opinion, of this business. I'm sure you'd agree. So tell us a little bit about that. You know, single family, which is a little different than multi, you know, they're not going to complain about their neighbors. Well, they may, but you don't really necessarily have anything to do with that. They'll have to get out the door and talk to them. You know, sometimes multi, you feel like you're a babysitter sometimes because you're dealing with all those other pieces, right? Which is a whole other conversation. But, you know, what is your philosophy when it comes to managing tenants? Obviously beyond the paying rent on time and all those sort of things, response time, dealing with maintenance, dealing with issues. You know, what has been your general philosophy and strategy there?
So our message, and my message at the onset, is that these are our assets, okay? And our goal is to maintain our assets because our goal is to build generational wealth, right? So we're not slumlords. You know, we are the Lord of our land, and we're going to maintain it. At the very beginning, when I'm going over the orientation, I'm talking to them about our maintenance walkthrough procedures. Right. I give them a copy of the maintenance checklist. I'm telling them that for a new tenant in particular, I'm going to see you quarterly because I'm going to walk through this property. I'm only going to be 5 minutes. My goal is to make sure our asset is being maintained. There's no locks being changed. You haven't moved anybody in. And then as that tenant stays, perhaps they renew that lease a year or two. We have a tenant that just signed her 14th year lease. She's been with us for 14 years, right? Okay. I'm not going into her property every quarter because I know how she maintains, right? But I'm going in there once a year, right? A newer tenant, I'm going in there twice a year. So from a tenant management perspective, I'm not your friend, but I'm friendly. And my goal is to make sure that our property, our asset is being maintained. I'm checking ceilings, I'm changing filters, but we're in there at least twice a year, unless something, we get a maintenance call. We are very responsive. That's one of our quality services. We have impeccable customer service response time. We're not changing light bulbs, but if you tell me that, there's water coming through the roof, my partner is going to be there either immediately or the next day. We got a call one time from a tenant. She had just come home and the smoke detectors were going off, but they were saying carbon monoxide. What should I do? I said, you need to call the gas company and get out of there right away. And as a result, responsiveness, we were there right away, because that's a dangerous situation. So we're very responsive.
That's super important. So do you have handyman, man or woman, come out to the properties, or is it mostly your husband, or how do you do that?
My husband is the first line of defense. He is the master troubleshooter. And then we will bring in the heavier contractors, HVAC, plumbing, et cetera, if it goes beyond his scope.
Yeah, which is helpful, because sometimes the simplest things, and I remember that, neither myself or my husband were very handy, and then you have these folks come out and they're charging you $400, $500 for a ridiculous reason, right? Yeah. So to have that, it's a really good point, and it is a strategy to have that team member that could be that handyman, that first line of defense, whether it's your team, but you need somebody who's that, so you're paying maybe a less hourly rate for good quality, but it's not. And we had the same strategy in our own, once we started to build a team. It was one of our team members. And if he couldn't fix it, he was like a master fixer, then we had to outsource it. And then you get to pay that higher bill. But if you're only paying that higher bill as your first, that's going to cut into your cash flow enormously. I know it did for us initially.
And if I can add to that,
please.
to that property maintenance piece, I've spoken to a number of investors who will complain that, when that tenant moves out, they've done so much damage. I got to, fix this. I've got to renovate that. And I turn to them and squarely ask them, when's the last time you've been to your property?
Yeah.
We have to hold ourselves accountable as well. If you haven't been in that property for 2 years, and then when they finally, say that they're leaving and you go in there and the place is destroyed, shame on you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to do your job as a landlord as well.
Right. Because it's ultimately, no one's going to care as much about that property as much as you may, or, your team. So let's get into that a little bit in terms of managing rentals versus outsourcing. I think that's a big conversation people have. I know for us, we managed everything for the first 8 years. Yes. And then we started to buy outside of our trading area. Mm-hmm. And that was our, initially everything was within a half hour. We can send our team member out there. But then you go an hour and a half and we're like, we can't send people there. And then it's like 9 hours away. And then we've kind of grown, listen, there's pros and cons, right? There's pros and cons to all of it. But as you expand, and even locally, how do you evaluate that? And I think it's a big question people have. So, you've been doing this for some time, right? Haven't been doing this a week. You've been doing this quite a long time. Yes. What for you? Because there's an investment of time and money, and then there's a return. So clearly you've had this conversation with your husband, I'm sure. So what has been your thought process in your process of, we're going to continue to do this and self-manage versus, the folks on the live saying, I'm at this crossroads, not sure, so what are some of those kind of questions you've asked yourself to kind of then get the answers? Because there's no right and wrong, but it has to work for you, and it has to work for your own business goals and what have you.
I certainly agree. And I think it's a personal decision as an investor. If you're going to self-manage, landlording is a skill set. And you have to ask yourself, do I have that skill set to determine if I'm going to self-manage or not? If I have the time to be responsive or not? If I have the acumen to engage with people in the right way, right? So that's over here. Okay, you got to self-assess if you have the skill set. And then if you say that you don't, in my opinion, I believe you still have to be an educated consumer. I.e., if you bring on a property management company, typically people have a blueprint of what that means. Like, it's going to be a set it and forget it. That property manager is going to take care of the world and send
That's
me a
not
check.
how it works. Yeah.
No,
No.
no. I believe you still need to understand the rudiments of landlording, because property managers, if you think about it, depending on how they're set up, their motivation is money. They want to get a tenant in there, get that first month's rent payment commission, and then they're out, right? But if your motivation is building assets, and getting a tenant that's going to pay you on time and maintain that property, in my opinion, as a consumer who says, I don't want to self-manage, but I want to hire a property management company, you need to vet that property management company to make sure that they share your business philosophy, that their responsiveness is going to represent your company in a good way, or your property in a good way, that they have the depth in their staffing, they have the experience, et cetera. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of like taxes, right? We all have to pay taxes. We have an accountant that does our taxes. However, we understand in the fine print when it comes to your taxes, no matter who prepares your taxes, at the end of the day is your responsibility. Yep. So, property manager, at the end of the day, is your property. So I believe we have an onus and a responsibility to make sure that property management company meets our needs as a customer. But we need to know their job to an extent to be able to hold them accountable in their performance.
It's huge. And I think it's enormous, because when you outsource anything to someone and you really don't know the specifics of it, for any role for that matter, you're going to have to learn it. And then sometimes you learn it on the job while you're getting kind of maybe taken or whatever it might be. You're going to learn it at some point. So for us too, it's the same thing. We're so grateful we self-manage as long as we did. And the reason why we then said, okay, we need to hire a company for this asset, we just got beyond, didn't make sense to hire a team there. And it just made sense for us at that time to do that. I love what you're saying about skill set, because I really want the folks, hey, Gertrude, one of our InvestHer leaders in Boston. Hey, Gertrude. What really got us, I had to thought, and then it popped me out because I saw Gertrude's name come up.
That's okay.
I had a good point there. Skill set. When we first outsourced, it was because it was an hour and a half away, it was too far. Then we had local properties, because we do quite a bit in the Trenton area and the New Jersey area. And we had to ask ourselves, should we outsource these properties as well? Because now it's not a proximity thing, right? Now it's funny because we had the same conversation. It is such a skill set to property manage. Like if in a certain type of manager is someone who they hold time important, they hold the process important. It's the strong follow-up. It's all those things that makes a good manager of anything. And we had to really look at, okay, do we want to, we were kind of at that point in our business. But if you don't ask that question, you'll just assume, oh, well, I should just do it because I'm going to save money. That shouldn't be the reason you do it. We go there too quickly as investors, right? We're really cheap. We want the best deal, but that's not always the best place to be, right? It has to match skill sets as well. So I love that point. I also want to make a point. So when we had to go through, we have 3 property managers we work with now that we've partnered with and we work with. And a mistake that we've made is that people will say, yeah, I can manage large multifamily. I've done it. But the biggest question you have to ask is, do they have experience with the type of multifamily you're getting into? Here's what I mean. You can be buying a multifamily that's turnkey, perfect, beautiful, little cosmetic stuff, but not a huge value add opportunity. It's more very simple stuff. Or you literally have to gut that building, and it's an 18 unit building, and you have to gut it and you have to rent it. Like it's a process, right? Not just 18 units, take it on 50, take it on 200. You want to make sure the property manager you're hiring has experience, not just handling the size of the building, but the type of asset you're buying.
Correct.
And the stage the asset is. In other words, it's kind of at a point where it needs everything. It's got to come to the next level. They want to bring it up, with a nicer finishes, things of that sort. You got to bring in the right. And we've made that mistake before where we haven't, and we just said, oh, you can handle multifamily, great, versus getting really clear on what they can handle. So I recommend that to the folks listening to.
And just to expound on that and sort of give the context of the industry that we're talking about, there are statistically close to 40 million rental units in the United States,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Approximately 16 million are owned by small individual investors who own one,
Yep.
two, three units. Okay. And they have acquired those units for different reasons. It may have been intentional investments. They may have inherited the property for different reasons. But there's a large percentage of small investors who are landlords. The other 25 million or so are owned by those larger business entities who own those towers
Right.
of 100
Right.
units. I was on a podcast recently. It was a Bigger Pockets one with property managers who own like 3,000 units, or they manage 3,000, 5,000
Sure.
units. That's a whole different ball of
Sure.
wax, in my opinion. I'm talking to, and I believe that I can relate to and help because I'm committed to that smaller investor
Yes.
who's trying to figure out this landlording ball of wax.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of us out there.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. It's, and even I have to tell you, even the multifamily, within 20 to 100 units, you'd be shocked how many mom and pop folks own, those size. It's not just, oh, they must be professionally run. Usually those are the ones that are just, tenants are picking up rent. I mean, it's funny what, they're not even marketing the properties online. They're, having the aunt go clean it's just very, you'd think because of the size, they'd be professionally run. They're not always. Got a question here. What's a good percentage to pay, I'm sorry, got confused there. What's a good percentage of rent to pay the property manager? It all depends. What I've seen, and Kim can jump in. We used to pay ourselves because we self-manage, but we pay ourselves. And that's a big mistake that people don't always do, or they don't necessarily put those numbers in when they evaluate the property. So my suggestion is always pay yourself. Even if you don't actually pay yourself, you have a line item, that maybe you have to put that money back into the property for that month, but you always want to have a line item. We paid ourselves like 10%. It was a little higher. As you get larger with some larger buildings, that percent goes down because now it's a volume play. It's a volume kind of project. I mean, I've seen it as low as, 5%, 4%, and again, depending on the size of the building. But yeah, I mean, to pay yourself and to, from a small, if it's a 2 to 4 unit, 10% I think is very fair. It also depends on where it is, the market. I mean, the Northeast might be a little different than all those sort of things. What have you seen, Kim?
I would agree with all that. Because we haven't used property managers, I can't delve that deeply into it, but based on what I've researched and heard, the percentages that you just mentioned are right on board. Yeah.
But I think a big mistake when folks self-manage, I know a mistake we made was we never put anything in as a line item. Because now what the challenge with that is, if you say, well, I'm going to self-manage. Why would I even need to do that? I want to reinvest, and that's all great, because there might be a day that comes that you say, you know what? I might just, I got a new job offer, or I'm looking to expand, or I want to pay someone to help me. You don't have now any money set aside in that budget to do that. And I know that for us, that happened a lot, where we just had to keep doing certain things on certain properties because we didn't bake that, really evaluate those numbers with a percentage. Now we do, and that's, a change. But whether you're going to pay yourself or not, put a percent in there for yourself. It really helps build that muscle.
I agree, Liz. And where I've seen that actually is in project budgets. When you're going into the commercial space, the lender will include a percentage for property management.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's and it also depends on where you are, but yeah, thank you for the question. If you like this, please like, share. I forgot to mention that, but we, really helps get the word out with all these amazing content and what Bigger Pockets is up to with the, amazing community it's built. Questions you have? Okay, Matt, you got a question. How many units hiring a property manager? I'm thinking you're asking how many units does it make sense to hire a property manager? Probably. If that's the case, give a thumbs up, but I'm thinking that's what you're kind of asking. I hate to say it depends, but it does. I know for us, it was a proximity thing. In other words, we got to the point where it made sense to expand beyond our geographic area of 30-minute radius. It just didn't make sense for our team to go out an hour and a half. Okay, cool, Matt. So that was for us. Now, I know other folks that, because probably it's in their skill set, they manage, self-manage 50 plus units. I mean, I've heard all different types of stories of what people do to self-manage versus outsource. And I think it goes back to, I don't know if you heard Matt, Kim eloquently say this, but it has to do with skill set, time, and resources. And all those pieces have to play out, and your business plan and what you're trying to achieve. Not only, Kim, are you good at it, but now you've built the system. So now you're at a position, like a perfect position to just keep. Why would you outsource that, right? Unless there's a reason to do that, but right, you've built it. You've built this business, right? Why would you outsource at this point? So it all depends on what your goals are. I don't know if you'd add anything to that, Kim.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I know some individuals, they're not quote unquote investors, who have one or two properties that have a property manager handle that for them because they just don't want to be involved with it. Yeah. They don't have an interest in self-managing. So I think it's a personal preference, and it depends on where you want to be in the equation. Yeah. But in reference to building a system, I was pregnant for 3 years with this idea, and the fact that we had built all of these documents over the years to create this infrastructure for managing, and my husband would come to me occasionally and say, give me a blank copy of the lease, give me a blank copy of the rules and regulations. He wanted to share it with someone, and something went across my purview connected to Microsoft Bundle. And I said, looking at all these documents, we have a bundle. We've created a bundle. And so we launched this year Landlord Docs 30 as a 17 document bundle that you can download, that are fillable, and use as your property management system. And we're excited about that because you don't have to start from zero.
You got a question about that too, Kim. Is your lease for sale on your site as part of the bundle?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes,
Thriving.
it is.
I like that name. Thriving Freely is the name. I like that name. Thriving Freely. That's just a cool name. Ask that. So cool. No, that's great. And that's, it's part of taking what we've learned in this business, right? And we're want to give and help, but we also are entrepreneurs and want to serve by, creating really cool things for people. So what have you seen is the biggest mistake people who self-manage make, and what advice would you give them to move them through that mistake? What is literally, if you just say, this is the biggest mistake I've seen, 30 years is quite a track record of zero evictions. So I know you talk to a lot of investors just like I do. So what have you seen to be, if you had to boil it down to one major mistake, what would you say? And how do you then counsel that landlord or that person to move them through that?
They do not have a screening system in place. They don't have a system in place, and they are making decisions on tenants based on emotions. I coach landlords, and I had a client talk to me and say, and so okay, she needed coaching. She had put her property out there. She had gotten some applicants in. So I'm coaching her specifically on the screening and the analysis process. And she's saying to me, well, as he's looking at the different applicants, well, he's a police officer. My husband used to be a police officer. He's probably a good guy. And the other applicant, she's a friend of the woman that I work with, and she's probably. And I'm like, no. Stop. So not having, a checklist of a system that you use for screening, that's where the missteps are mostly that I find with landlords. They don't have a tight, thorough screening process. Yeah. And then the person gets in the property, which I classified that whole screening and acceptance process as dating, as getting married. I'm sorry. And so the vetting and the screening part is dating. I'm getting to know you. I need to feel comfortable with you, right? And the lease is the prenup. We've agreed upon certain conditions on both sides. Sure. And when I give you the key to my house, I'm putting the ring on your finger. We're married, right? If there's any missteps in the agreement that we made, then we got a divorce.
Yeah.
which is an eviction. Nobody likes that. It can get very ugly and very emotional. But I believe if you start up front with a clear checklist of screening and standards, then it's less likely that you're going to have to divorce that tenant. And let me just say, based on my research, an eviction with a unit that's costing $1,000 a month, it could cost you between $5,000 and $8,000 to turn that property over. Between the lost rents, the repairs, the eviction court costs, the attorney costs, it is something that I'm committed to helping people to avoid. Yeah. It's emotional and it's stressful for not only the tenant but the landlord to go through an eviction. No,
it's huge. We got another question before we wrap up here. What is, where'd it go here? What are your experiences with tenant lawsuits? I'm assuming you haven't had any, but.
No, I haven't had any. So I don't have an answer to that question other than, have your insurance policies tight and right.
And also, I'm a big fan of, having someone on your team, having that attorney, to run these things by. And again, people always say, oh, attorneys cost a lot of money. Yeah.
The cost of doing business.
Yes, the cost of doing business, and it also will cost you tenfold if you don't get it, get it right, and also, protect yourself. So yeah, that's just something I wanted to put up there. Sure. Yeah. Any other questions from the audience? Please jump in and ask them. Kim's been a wealth of knowledge here, and I think you also said something really helpful. I'll just mention leases are living documents, right? Checklists and processes are living documents. Yeah. I know for me, we deal with a lot of investors. That's how we're able to get into larger projects and what have you. And every time something happens, it's like, okay, what can we learn from this? What can we put in the, for us, when people come on board, they're signing a subscription agreement, right? They're part owner of a building. Mm-hmm. So there's times that I'm like, okay, we need to add this in the next time. Mm-hmm. I mean, attorneys look at it. We have the right team looking at it, but just details we need to make sure we serve them best. I'm like, yeah, that needs to go in the next time. So it's a living process. Yep. To think you're going to put a document together, a lease, an agreement, and it's just good to go. Yep. It always evolves. I'm sure you're still evolving 30 years later.
10 pages.
Same with us.
We're up to a 10-page lease.
Yeah.
And we've just recently added some clauses. For example, a death clause. What happens if your tenant dies in your property?
Yeah.
Right? We actually also added a military clause. Suppose they're in the military and they get called away. So to your point, we've been adding clauses to our leases as we move through this journey.
Yeah, that's why all the resources you're offering are so helpful, right? Because we can't all live through everything, but that's where the sharing comes in. So Kim, where can folks that want to learn more about you and learn more about the amazing things you're up to, where can they reach out to you?
Sure. So you can go to my website.
They just put it up there too.
Yeah, it's www.lldocs30.com, right? And on all the social outlets, you can search me at lldocs30. I'm on Instagram and all those. If you want to just chat with me, if you need coaching, send an email to info@lldocs30.com and I'll get back to you.
Awesome. I've known Kim for quite some time. She's the real deal. She's amazing. So she's a wealth of knowledge and just so happy to have you on this week. And for the women listening, this is the kind of women's InvestHer Bigger Pockets Live that we do once a month. I'll be back the third week in August with another amazing woman. I got to figure out what we're doing. I got a couple ideas on what we're going to be doing that Monday, but it's 3:00. My husband will be back next Monday. But for the women listening that want to get involved with what we're up to, you can check us out, therealestateinvesther.com. We're all about supporting and empowering women living a financially free and balanced life. But just wanted to thank you again, Kim, so much for being here. Keep making progress with your leases and getting in there and processes and systems. Hopefully you took something from our live today. Don't just listen to these lives. Bigger Pockets puts out a live every day with some amazing, amazing people. And the resources, do something with what you're learning. We all need to do that, right? We can't just listen. We have to do something. One thing, just take one thing that you heard and use it. So I thank you for being on this week, Kim, so much.
My pleasure, Liz. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, everyone.